Hello there, I'm here to keep talking on the topics that we are discussing, and I'm here in the MDJ. I hope you guys are doing well, and let's get started. Well, I think I will talk today on the topic of language and how you should study it because I'm thinking of it recently. I'm learning English and French, as I said many times here, and I'm learning French following um, almost the ALG method, but not quite. I'm using comprehensible input constantly, but I'm not going into some details in French. But at the same time, I've studied French before, so I am not a pure ALG speaker. I am, in fact, more close to someone using natural or direct methods. I don't think that those methods should um, be limited on the topics that you want to watch or that you want to learn. I actually don't say that I follow any specific method only um, with the language that I'm learning because I'm not studying French following any specific method. As well, my English, I'm not following any specific method. My English is more a mixture between all the possible methods. Well, as said here, also how I'm studying English, and I want to dive into it on how to study it. Well, there are the four main skills that you need in order to have the domain of a language, and they are writing, speaking, listening, and reading. Those four are indeed the four main skills that you have on on the the language learning. I think you need to know how you're going to approach them because you see, if some people learn language but they don't want to learn some aspects of the language. For example, for Latin, many people learn how to read in Latin, learn some vocabulary, but they don't learn how to speak in sometimes, or even listen. They know how to reading, maybe they know how to write in it, but they sometimes don't want to speaking or even listening to the language, and that's fine. That's okay. Latin is a language that we don't use in our daily lives anymore. There is a vision that I agree with, that Latin has died in some aspect, and in other it has not, because Latin was stopped by being used in daily activities, but he began to he kept to being used in some very academical and ecclesiastical activities, thus becoming more of an immortal language. The, this YouTube, I don't know his name properly, but I think he's called Luca. He's he's a Latin proficient speaker, and he's here on YouTube, and he says that the Latin language stopped being uh, a lived language and become immortal. It was not used anymore by any person in their daily lives, but it has started to grow in the aspect of academical language. And Latin is a language that I want to learn. Um, but then Latin is in a very specific position that make us think on it, because many people don't want to learn it as we learn English, for example. They want just to know how to read sometimes. The people that learn Latin are not very are not a group very broad, if you know what I mean. They are, in some sense, a very small group of people that learn Latin nowadays, and the majority that learn Latin by itself or with a teacher, but willing to learn it, not because they are being forced to. Those people normally are willing to be able to read, and that's it. Know the grammar, know some words, and then read. Those people don't want to be able to talk or to listen to the language sometimes, and that makes this person, this people, um, not interested into some methods on some activities that could involve the listen and speak and practice. For English, for example, a huge number of people want to learn English in all four skills. There are some that don't want to it, that they just want to know some aspect of the language. There are some teachers of mine, to give you guys an example, they do not want to learn English as a language to talk. They just want to learn English so they can be able to read and write, or even just read, so they can use this knowledge into the subjects that they just want to read. And if they want to do so, they should not be worrying in too much on the aspects of English speaking. So that's what I'm saying here. It will depend on the skills that you want to have. As for myself, I want to have all the four skills in English very proficiently accomplished, because I think they are very important for me. They will be important in my life, and more than that, I just really love the English language and want to have it as a more proficient language in all the four aspects of it, that being writing, listening, reading, and speaking. Yeah, I always forgot some. Um, but then there is French as well, another language that I particularly have the desire to learn in all four skills. So people normally say that people say a lot of things about language learn, don't they? People say about some methods specifically, and how should one approach the language. And I think a lot about these methods because they are a very big part of my own life. I do study languages a lot, and I do study how to learn languages, and I'm a part of the language learning community, even though I'm just starting my journey yet. I just know English to some extent, and French barely nothing, as well my native language, but that doesn't count for language learning. And so we have this aspect here, how one should approach to study the language. And by language, I mean any language that one could be willing to learn. Let's say that as myself in this aspect, the person want to learn the language in and have it in all four skills, have it proficiently in all four skills. So this person will need to practice all four skills at some point. Even the ALG method, which seems to me to be the most anti-practical in the sense of not advise you to practice, the most anti-practical method, even then we assume that you have to practice at some degree. I have my English now quite proficient in this aspect because I can learn, I can understand what I listen to it. I can read some books, even though they are not that easy. I can sometimes get words by context. I can speak in with some reasonable level of proficiency as I'm doing now, and also I can write in to some extent as well. So my English is already in a level of reasonable proficiency. Then it comes how I could approach it. Well, I am having some troubles with time because I'm not having time to prioritize my language learning, and I'm mostly studying to other things, mainly involving school. But I said to myself, I want to learn French and English daily, you know. That's a thing that I want to try to learn. If it is not possible, let's say, if I broke my arm and I'm not capable of studying it, I wouldn't be bothering, of course. But if it is within my capacity, I would like to at least have some small contact with the language that I'm learning daily. For my English now, I think that I'm such a level. Um, I think I'm around B2 or even C1. That in this level of uh, contact with the language, just watch content and just to consume it doesn't make uh, doesn't make you improve a lot. You need to be actively using the language. Talking, speaking is the same thing, kind of, but like speaking and also writing and doing things actively. If you are going to read, it's better that you read actively, trying to catch some things to apply. Because if you want to just absorb the content, the content by osmosis, it seems very unreasonable to me that one will accomplish C2 or even be a very high level C1 of English or any other language. And sometimes people say they are C2, they are C1, but they actually aren't. And I myself have doubts if I am B2 or C1 or C2. I'm surely that I'm a B1. I'm not B1 anymore. Either I am B2 or C1. I don't think I am C2. Um, but then we have this aspect here of practice all the four skills daily. I'm watching content, mainly BBC podcasts, because they are quite intricate with this in this aspect. and they help me with listening, because the majority of content that I see there are not content that will help me improve a lot. If I take 3,000 hours of A1 input, I will not learn much more English than I know now. And most videos on YouTube, for example, they use fairly easy, or at least not that complex, vocabulary and ways of saying things. And moreover, if you watch something on YouTube, you always have the ability to look to someone's lips, and you can understand better what the person's saying, because you can do the label reading. You can look to the person, see the position of the lips, and understand kind of with the sounds the things they are saying. With a podcast listening only, you have just access to uh, the audio, and you can't look the lips of someone or the face of someone to understand more. You just need to be focused on the audio and trying to understand it by itself. And that, I think, it's more challenging. And maybe it will help me more, I think. So I want to keep trying to have to watch a video per day in BBC, and also maybe I gonna start to watch some specific things. I'm thinking on start to watch Shakespeare's pieces, representations of Shakespeare pieces, and with that, I think I will be able to uh, get some aspects of the language that I usually don't get. I will get a huge amount of new vocabulary and archaic vocabulary that may be helpful. But even if it isn't helpful through that, I think would be good to have to watch it, because I will develop my listen, in the sense of I will need to be more um, thoughtful on the phonemes that I'm listening to, so I can understand the words that they're saying, because it will be far harder to me to learn what they're saying, and then on YouTube video, for example. Shakespeare pieces are harder than YouTube videos generally, and then but then it's hard to um, find a proper way, a proper thing that you can do daily, that you know that you will improve. You just need to trust the process, but it is hard to find this type of daily practice, because you always will be thinking, is that being effective? Is that really gonna make me go to the other level that I need to reach? And right now I'm just doing speaking, writing, reading, and listening. There is the grammar as well that I'm willing to learn, that I'm willing to um, start to learn. And the time will say if I will be able to do what I want to. But I just want to share and to say that it is quite hard to find content, and more than content, find reasonable ways to approach the language learning. So I will leave this video here. It's starting to get very long, as you can guess. I'm trying to use my accent, at least the accent that I'm trying to develop, which is the RP accent. But it is still very hard to me to do some sounds and to talk properly. That's why you see sometimes I'm saying the stress of words wrong, saying with weird sounds that are not present in RP accent or any dialect of English, and that is an aspect that I want to say it. But then I see you guys soon. I think this was the 81st video of, actually, sorry, the 72th video of MDJ. I hope to keep recording videos for you guys and see you guys later.